Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we're facing more cuts with INEOS. There's going to be a staff meeting at Manchester United today where up to 200 more Manchester United staff could be losing their jobs. Also, we'll be looking at transfer stories as well. Manchester United being linked with a couple of players, one on a free transfer, one for about 35 million quid. So let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather it's a little bit cold. You might want to put your parkas on if you've got them, although I'm not wearing mine today. Loads of stories to get through, so we'll crack on. But before we do, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Let's get to 800,000 subscribers. We're almost there. And with your support, yes, we will get there. Big story this morning. We're going to get onto some transfer news in a minute, but there's a meeting planned today, I think, at Manchester United with INEOS, with staff. Staff can either come into it in person or it can take place over Zoom or whatever. And there's the reports, a lot of reports in I think the Mirror and a couple of other papers saying that there could be more redundancies. We heard this last week. Could be up to 200 more people losing their jobs here at Manchester United as INEOS keep making these cuts. Now, it's sad to see. I hate to see people losing the job. It's sad to see people losing the job at Manchester United in particular, because a lot of people that work at Manchester United are United fans. They're working here not just because they're getting paid, but because they love the club and they want to work for Manchester United. And I know people who work at United, more often than not, the wages aren't the best. It's the fact that you are part of this football club that is a bit of a carrot for a lot of people. So it is sad to see. Now, I know we've done lots of reports on these courts. We've done lots of reports on INEOS, and it does seem to be a split in the fan base. There's a lot of people that are saying these cuts are wrong, they shouldn't be happening. It's sad to see people losing the job. That's kind of what I'm saying. Others are saying, well, INEOS have got to change things. They've got to do things differently. If you keep making the same mistakes off the pitch, you'll keep making them on the pitch. United are in a bit of a shambles because of the Glazers, and INEOS are trying to sort things out. Now listen, I've got no delusions about why we're in this mess, and it is because of the Glazers. The Glazers were still in £1 billion worth of debt, which is more than we were, I think, when they took over. They've cost this club just, well, £1 billion basically, hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds just to own this club with that leverage buyout, all the dividends they've taken, the debt they've put us in, all the other stuff as well. The fact they've had this massive amount of mismanagement during their tenure, there's no doubt in my mind that the Glazers are the root of all the problems we've had here at Manchester United. But that doesn't mean you can't still question or criticise INEOS. You can't still say, are these decisions the right ones? Are they making the right moves? Now, we know that the whole Dan Ashworth situation was a bit of a debacle. We'll have to wait and see whether the other decisions they're making are the right ones. Only time will tell. It's too early to tell at the minute. We just know at the minute the club isn't in a great place, either on the football pitch, in the Premier League table, or what's going on off the pitch. Sorry. It's just not great, is it? It feels a little bit depressing, to be honest with you, being a Manchester United fan at the minute. And I just hope we can turn it around. We can turn it around off the pitch, get this club going again, get back to being able to challenge and being able to buy players that we need here, and also get things going on the pitch as well, and start seeing the sort of football that many of us remember under Sir Alex Ferguson. And even post Alex Ferguson, we've had much better seasons, far better seasons than we're having right now. We are having an absolutely abysmal season, and I do worry it might even get worse before it gets better. We've got Ipswich this week. We'll have the preview out for that later on this week. Ipswich, who are scrapping down near the bottom of the table. If United don't win that one, or if United lose that one even, I shudder to think what the reaction's going to be like. Just in terms of transfers, said we had a couple of transfer stories. We saw reports yesterday and again this morning that Ruben Amorim is keen on Geovany Quenda and he's pushing the club to sign him. I think the Daily Star had it and one or two other publications as well, saying that he's pushing the club to make a bid for Quenda from Sporting in the summer. I think 35 million quid could bring the teenager to Manchester United. We saw the effect that Patrick Dorgu has had on the team. I thought he was one of our best players at Goodison Park at the weekend. It's not saying much because it wasn't a great team performance, but I thought he played well. He obviously fits into the system perfectly, which is why Ruben Amorim wanted him. It would seem that Geovany Quenda would be another player. Wouldn't seem, you'd expect him to be another player that fits perfectly into this system. Amorim gave him his start at Sporting, brought him in as a 17-year-old. He can play as a wing back. That's what we need, and it seems that Ruben Amorim has sort of earmarked him as a must-get signing. He wants him here. He wants him at Manchester United. He wants him to fit into this team, and hopefully he's the sort of player that can have a long career here and move the club forward if we get him. Because at the minute there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes when it comes to any transfer, because we know that Manchester United don't have a lot of money, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing these cuts under INEOS. We're seeing these sort of stories coming out that people are, when they're putting in stationary orders here at the club for sellotape and things like that. They're getting rejected. It is just an absolute shambles. But if we sell a few players, the likes of Marcus Rashford, the likes of Jadon Sancho, I think Jadon Sancho is going to definitely go. Rashford hopefully will move on, because I think we can all admit it is time for him to move on. He's doing quite well at Aston Villa, and hopefully that'll lead to him getting a permanent move that both him and Manchester United need. Plus maybe Antony as well could be moving on to Real Betis. He's had a bit of an issue though over the weekend. He got sent off against Getafe, I think it was, for a late red card, which means he's going to miss the game against Real Madrid. And he actually been playing very well for Real Betis. I think he even played well in that game before he got sent off, setting up a goal for Isco. So he's going to miss the big one there, miss the game against Real Madrid. Hopefully, though, it won't scupper his chances of getting a permanent move in the summer. He's had a very, very good loan spell so far at Real Betis. He looks a completely different players to the one we've seen here at Old Trafford, and we need these players who are out on loan to do well if they are going to get a permanent move. And despite the red card, he has been doing well, and hopefully he's another one that could go in the summer and help fund bids for players like Geovany Quenda, because it does seem as though Manchester United are in this situation at the minute where we have to sell to buy. One player who we could bring in on a free, and there's a few stories doing the rounds about this. A few websites like the Court Offside and one or two others are reporting it. And the Manchester Evening News have done an opinion piece that's got a little bit of news in it. They like to do that, don't they, where they'll do an opinion piece with a little bit of a sprinkling of news within it, talking about getting Jonathan David from Lille, how that would be a good signing. I think he's out of contract in the summer, so a free signing for a player who's banging in the goals would be a good move for Manchester United, especially if we're skint. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get Victor Gyökeres. There was talk of us maybe going in for Victor Osimhen. I don't know what the situation is there for Fabrizio Romano was talking about over the weekend. He was sort of saying that these reports about United sending scouts towards Osimhen, I think those aren't true, because United know a lot about Victor Osimhen. It's not like a player we need to scout. The question is, can we get him? Jonathan David would seem like an easier one to get. Free transfer, doing well at Lille, 25 years old. I think he scored 20 goals in all competitions this season. Last season, he scored, I think, 26. The season before, it was 26. The issue with Jonathan David is he's been one of those players who, I think last season he scored the same amount of goals as he scored the previous season, but it took him more games to do it, and he scored fewer goals in the league, if that all makes sense to you. So people are looking at it going, well, is he kicking on the way he should be? Well, I think he's a very good player. The only issue I had with Jonathan David, and it's a silly sort of way to judge him, was I didn't know a lot about him. I remember we were linked with him and looking at him in the World Cup. Now, I've always said you shouldn't buy a player off the World Cup, but I think sometimes players can almost play their way out of your thinking during a World Cup. If they have a bad tournament or a tournament where they're underwhelming, a club or even fans can look at it and go, I'm not too keen on him, because it's a player you might not have seen a lot of, and that's the first time you get to see him properly. Now, in the World Cup, Canada didn't have a great tournament, and he didn't have a particularly good one, but it wasn't all down to him. The team itself didn't play well. It also suffered, I think it was the first game in that group against Belgium, where they won a penalty, and he's their penalty taker, and I think Alphonso Davies took it and missed, which doesn't help, does it? Because that would have got him off to a good start. Anyway, I digress. Jonathan David is a player that's been linked with us. He's been linked with us for the last few years. Now, Evening News and one or two other papers and publications saying, look, this could happen and maybe it should happen. And if we're asking, getting a player who's 25 years old, which is a decent age, who scored 20 plus goals, I think, the last 3 seasons consistently, especially when you compare it to the players we've got here at the minute who aren't getting 20 plus goals in any season, then I think it's a move that makes a lot of sense for Manchester United. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do you think we should be getting Jonathan David? Do you think we can get him? Do you think we should be getting Geovany Quenda? What do you make of the cuts that are going on here at Manchester United and the moves that INEOS are making? Going to be back later on today. We've got the Paddock podcast, loads of other content, loads more content coming up on the channel this week, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been the Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.